This is the Save File Dialog Control. Its purpose, the Save File Dialog allows the user to browse the system and select a location and a name for a file that's about to be saved. How do you set it up? Rather than appear on a form, the Save File Dialog Control is an invisible control that resides in the component tray just beneath the form. Commonly used properties are, there's a name. It's a unique ID that to refer to a specific control in code. There's the file name, the name of the file to be saved. The initial directory, where the search file should begin. The default is in the Documents directory. And the title, it's displayed in the dialog box's title bar. The default is Save. The default event, there isn't any. And how does it use? Well, when called, the control displays a standard Windows Save As dialog box. The user can select a location and specify a file name by navigating the system. The user also can cancel the operation. This is a typical flowchart of an operation using a file on a disk. You open the file, you close the file, and somewhere in between you process the records. The open file, which can be a standard open, can be replaced by the Save File Dialog Control, and that's how you get the name of the file there. Once that's gotten, everything is normal after that, where you process the records and you close the file. Let's see how all this looks. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a dialog control on this form, and we can do that by simply going to the dialog section in our toolbox, bringing it down, and clicking on Save File Dialog. And there it goes down in the component section, as you can see it on this tray down here. I have a number of properties I can change. I'm going to call this one DLG Save File. I'm using Hungarian notation. You can use camel casing, whatever, but typically you would give it a name of some kind to work with. You can certainly use the Save File Dialog one name as well, but I like to change mine as well. I don't really want to change any of the other properties in here. My file name is going to be gotten by the user. The initial directory, I'm just going to navigate anyway. The title, I'm going to leave it as Save up on top here when you're going to see that control come up. I could make a demo if I want, but I'm going to leave it alone. So typically, this is all I need to do. The next thing I need to do, though, is actually make this thing operational so you can actually see it. I'm going to do that by grabbing a number of buttons from the system and placing them on this form. I'm going to shrink this form down a little bit because I don't need all this room. We're going to go through the process of making an operation that will save some records to disk in both a direct save capacity and a dialog save capacity. You can see the difference between using the Save Dialog Control and not using the Save File Dialog Control. Let me format this and get these things in the center of the form. What I have is the direct save button, which is going to be called button direct over here. I've got a dialog save button over here, which is going to be button dialog. And I've got the exit button sitting over here as well. First thing I'll code is the exit button. It's the easiest to do. / close form. And then lay it in there, this.close. And we're good to go. Now, what I'm going to do with this thing first, I'm going to go to the direct save piece and just do it a normal without using the Save Dialog Control at all. What I'm going to do first is do the button direct. And that is nothing more than I'm going to have to go up on top here and put in the system using system IO, because we are using a file. And I'm doing that because we're going to need the stream writer. So I'm going to go to my button director and I'm going to say stream writer. And I'm going to call it output file. That's what we're going to name our output file. Next thing I'm going to do an open file. I'm also going to process the file, just as you saw in that flowchart. And I'm going to close the file. To open the file, I'm going to have to simply say output file, which we defined above, is equal to file.createText, and I'm going to call it my direct file.text, and end it like that. That's all I need to do to open the file. I can use it append text or I can use create text, whatever you want to do. It depends on what you're going to be doing with the file. In this case, it doesn't matter. Next thing I'm going to say output file, right line, and I'm going to say this sentence will be stored on disk. And I'm going to do another one real quickly. Right line, this, and this will be the second sentence stored there. And that's it. Normally I'd be using a loop to write a bunch of records on here, but we're just going to write 2 records out to a file and call it quits. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to do a close file. So we're going to say output file.close. And we're also going to put a message box in here. Message box.show file has been written. When you write files to disk, you want to let the user know that something actually occurred and it happened, so we put a message box in there. That's really all I need. I'll do a file save on this thing. Save all. This is our save demo program right here. I'm going to go into the demo file here and go to the bin and the debug, and you can see nothing's in there right now because I haven't done a thing. Well, I'll go ahead and we'll run this program, and it comes up looking something like this. I'll do a direct save, and we get a message saying file has been written. Let's take a look at that. We'll close the program out, and we'll take a look at our file here and see where it is. And if we look at it, here's my direct file.txt. I can open this file, this text file that I've got right here. The sentence will be stored on disk, and this will be the second sentence stored there. So this is working. Next thing I want to do is I want to go back to the form, this time use the common dialog, the SaveFileDialog Control. Now, the nice thing about this is we'll double click on it, and we'll use much of what we were using up here. We're just going to change this portion right here where we actually are going to be calling a file or creating a file, letting the user create the file. So how do we do that? We do that by using our stream reader. We've got to have that in there. We're going to be going ahead and we're going to be opening the file. We're going to be processing the file. And we're going to close the file. Now, one of the big differences here is that once I've got the stream reader going here, I want to use an if statement in this particular place right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say if DLG save file show dialog results 0, and I'm going to put a set of ellipses here, and that's going to be my if statement. I'm also going to do an else. In other words, if the show dialog has been successful and the user has picked something, we're going to do something. Otherwise, we're going to say message box.show operation canceled by user. Put a semicolon on the end of that. That allows us negative piece to go where the user is canceled. In other words, the user has gone in and looked at the show file dialog. It comes up with a screen, allows the person to navigate wherever they want to go. And if they pick a file and name it and put it someplace or get it all set to go, it's going to do the processing that's right in here. Otherwise, it's going to jump down to this message box that's canceling by the user. So we really want to take these things right here, these comments, pull them out and put them in this area right here, because this is where we're going to be doing the things if we're successful here. That's a slight difference we're seeing to up here. But this is giving us our file name. Now we have this file name in here, we can actually go ahead and open the file. So what we'll say is we'll say output file dot file dot create text, and the name will be DLG file name. In other words, the one that was grabbed by the user. This should be an equal sign here. Yeah, much better. So this is going to grab our file and actually open it for us. That's all we need to do. This basically replaces what we have up here, the file create. After that, everything's the same. We'll grab this piece right here, lay it in here, and our close, same thing. Put it over here. We need the O on here. Output files there. Why do we have an error here? We have an error because we probably screwed something up with, yeah, this thing is a problem right here. This guy needs to be out and needs to be down here. And now everything's happy again. We've got our balancing with our ellipses, and we're good to go. So this should be all we need. The only difference really we're seeing here is this open file dialog. Now this is going to act very, very differently when we actually run this thing. So I'm going to do a save all on here. This time what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the file. We'll go up here, and I'm going to put it with the beginnings in this area right here in the save file dialog demo area where I've got in my sandbox. So I'm going to put it right in this place right here. So let's pull it off the side. Let's go ahead and run this thing. Same thing comes up. We'll simply do the dialog save. When I hit this, it comes up with the control, asking me where I want it to go. Well, I know my path, so I'm going to navigate to it. It's in my Dropbox, and it's down in here. And if I navigate down to our toolbox, into our SaveFileDialog Control folder, and I can find my sandbox right here. And in here is my demo program. which we're creating right now. I'm going to put it right in here. And we're going to call it dialog save text file .txt. And we'll go ahead and hit save on this thing. And it comes back, file has been written. We can close this off, exit our program, go ahead and bring this in, go up a little bit so it refreshes. There's our text file, save with dialog text. Double click on this, same thing, save sentence. This sentence will be stored on disk, and this will be the second sentence stored there. So it's working just fine. The big difference was the user now has the control to actually create the text file and put it in a proper place wherever they want it to go. And that's it. That's the extent of it. That's SaveFileDialog in a nutshell.